Hi, everyone. This is our Patreon teaser for the month. This month, Julia Washington from Pop Culture Makes Me Jealous and our creative partner over on Still Comfy and I did a follow-up episode to the episode we did last year on the Patreon about the Johnny Depp and Amber Heard trial. There has been a documentary series that is in 4 parts and was released on Netflix. It explores both sides of the trial and includes some context about the media and the social media surrounding the trial. Don't forget, we are currently running a 7-day free trial on all tiers. So if you sign up for the free trial for our $10 or $25 tier, you will have access to this bonus episode. All Patreon tiers have access to our ad-free early access episodes and our Patreon exclusive chat rooms. So hit the link in the show notes for our Patreon. Check out all of the tiers and all of the fun stuff we have over there, including higher discount codes for our merchandise than you will find in our newsletters. Everyone, have a great rest of your day and see you next week. Ever.
Yeah, not ever. Okay, are you ready to start?
I am ready to start.
This topic is so depressing.
This topic is so depressing. Thank you so much for choosing it.
Well, I figured it was important that we revisit it because we talked about it last year. It's been a year, and I actually really struggled with finding like the aftermath, like the legal aftermath. So I don't know if we're going to see the legal aftermath in case law immediately. But they're definitely like, okay, so just so everyone knows, Natalie and I talked about the Depp Heard trial in, I think it was April of last year when it happened.
Yeah.
Netflix has released a 3-part docuseries. Lots of headlines call it explosive, which I kind of feel like, can we pick a new adjective? Because when I hear explosive, I don't think content. That basically boils it down into obviously 3 parts. You have Johnny's side, you have Amber's side, and then you have how social media plays into it. And so we're revisiting that chat because we talked about it last year. It was the most bonkers case to watch. A lot of people compared it to O.J. Simpson's trial, with the caveat of the difference is O.J. didn't have social media. We didn't have social media in 1995.
Thank God. Also, because so growing up, I can think of very monumental court cases that my family had on the TV 24 hours a day, and Oprah was talking about every day, or Larry King was talking about every day. And it's O.J., Scott Peterson, JonBenet Ramsey.
Yep.
Another Peterson case that wasn't John Peterson, but there was like another Peterson guy that probably also murdered a lady. And it was already so like integrated into our zeitgeist, but we had to like physically sit down as a family and be like, okay, I guess it's time to like turn on Larry King. So you still had like a wall between you and it. But
yeah,
even a year ago when I was trying really hard to not intake anything about the trial because I was like, I just feel like we don't have the full story. I feel really conflicted about standing with Amber, but I also feel really conflicted about standing with Johnny. And then it's like, I wasn't in a place to think about it and actually reflect in real time. Right. And then you made me watch the docuseries, and now I'm re-mad.
I'm sorry I made you. But also I'm not, because if there's anybody I'm going to have this conversation with, it's going to be you. Like
Yeah.
anyone else that I have this conversation with might still be steeped in some level of misogyny that's not going to like be a constructive conversation. Because one of the things that I think is overall understood is that the social media influence of this case
Mm-hmm.
was massive. I
Yes.
mean, it it was like you said, it was so hard to avoid anybody's content about the Depp Heard case. And when we first had the conversation, I re-listened to it back earlier this week to refresh myself on what I said. And I was so mad that the jury wasn't sequestered. And there was this, well, you are ordered to not watch TV, to not get on the internet, to not do this. But they also still went home. They all
Mm-hmm.
still had family members. They all still had their cell phones. So when Heard's side was like, you expect us to believe that they didn't see anything? You expect us to believe that they honored that? You're trusting the honor system here, when you and I have both said multiple times we had to actively avoid it, and we weren't even on the jury.
Right. And it pissed me off so much when Johnny's smarmy little girl lawyer was like, I just think that people really have um a high level of respect for the court
Oh,
system
don't.
and jury duty. I was like, oh yeah, if that's one thing I know about
Nobody
everyone I've
respects
ever,
jury duty.
yeah. So I'm pretty sure that they didn't doom scroll at all, or
Mm-hmm.
Google Johnny Depp, or watch Pirates of the Caribbean, or anything.
What I really appreciate about this documentary is how they did do a side by side of here's Amber's face and here's Johnny's face, and their faces aren't different. He's also smirking. He's also laughing. He's also going, boom, slam dunk for my team.
Mm-hmm.
But he's not getting ripped for it. She
Well,
is.
and I think
Because look
so,
at her smirky face.
you know that,
Like,
well, like one of the things that has made me bitter during my summertime sadness as summer draws to a close is this whole idea of no matter what's going on in your marginalized lifestyle, whether you're
mm-hmm,
a woman or a person of color or a member of the queer community, it is always up to you to overcome whatever
mm-hmm,
bullshit society is throwing your way. So, like with Sister Wives, it's
mm-hmm.
like, well, why wasn't that woman strong enough to just stand up to Cody? She would have had the backing of the Sister Wives. And it's like, well, because her religion tells her not to. Like
Right.
she's following her religious doctrine, which we're supposed to be allowed to do in this country. And then it's why aren't women leaning in more if they want to be taken seriously as
I hate the
CEOs?
term leaning in.
Like
I hate the concept.
why aren't you raising your hand more? Why aren't you making yourself heard? Because there are three men in the room who never have to just fight to be heard. And the
Right.
harder I'm fighting, the more that they're going to tell me that I'm shrill and taking a lot of things personally.
Yeah, like to your point in a cookie chat that we're in, it's the responsibility is always put back on us
Yeah.
rather than like challenging the system.
So one of the things that's been batting around in my mind, and it was actually when I think my guest for the episode that dropped today, as we're
Mm-hmm.
recording this about family court and leaving your abusive partner, is she's like, you kind of know as a victim that the moment that you fight back, it's over for you.
Right. Mm-hmm.
And I find that so ridiculous because we have an entire cable channel dedicated to the Snapped TV show.
Mm-hmm.
And we have an entire Lifetime cable channel dedicated to movies about women who are abused and going to drastic measures to escape that abuse. But when Amber Heard also screams at Johnny Depp, oh, sure, tell them that I hit you just like you hit me. So now you're Mr. Battered too, because she's probably in some sort of like emotional, volatile headspace.
Mm-hmm.
Then they're like, see, you're not a victim. because you played into whatever manipulative, crazy bullshit he was throwing at you.
Right. Right, which is why mediators exist, because when your emotions are so present and you're having a hard time regulating, sometimes you need somebody to come in. And we said this last time when we recorded, it's two volatile people in the same room together. So the decision to decide who's the least volatile and the most correct in the hands of the court.
Well, and something that I'm also really tired of not seeing when it comes to these high level domestic abuse cases is like, where is the person who is the expert on the abuse cycle? Because we had a mental health psychologist sit on the stand and be like, well, Amber's mentally ill. And it's like, okay. And then we had another one who goes, well, yeah, she's mentally ill, but it's caused by her PTSD. And then, but we never had anyone sit down to be like, I have a master's PhD in the abuse cycle and only the abuse cycle. And I believe that the behaviors that Amber exhibited happened in this moment in the abuse cycle, because we're at the point in our society where we can name every moment of the abuse cycle and kind of see where everyone is.
Right.
And we know that part of that abuse cycle is when they flip the script on you. And it's them baiting you into getting into a fight with them. It's them baiting you into raising your voice or getting physical or trying to run away so they get to hurt you quicker and faster. And it's like our court system is like, well, that's not a thing. We're not looking at a cycle at large. We're looking at Johnny Depp and only Johnny Depp. And it doesn't happen in a vacuum.
What was interesting about the mental health professionals coming in and Johnny Depp's team coming in and having an analysis done, and that therapist deciding that that Amber has borderline personality disorder and histrionic disorder, two disorders I'm very familiar with. I have a family member with both of them. So when that came up, I had like a gut reaction because I know what it's like to live with somebody who has those. And then Amber Heard's team brings somebody in and they're like, she has PTSD. She is like, this is textbook. And I thought, well, why didn't the judge sit there and say, you know what we need to do? We need to find somebody who's not associated with either of you to do these assessments. And it reminded me, and just her decision and the judge's decision to have the cameras on, whatever that happens all the time with court cases. But it made me go back to our conversation about women who uphold the system. And I feel like the judge falls into that because she did not do anything, in my opinion, based on what we've seen. She didn't do anything to set this up for a fair and equal trial.
No.
She's allowed the cameras in the courthouse. That was what Johnny's team wanted, not Amber's. She doesn't sequester the jury. She doesn't say, hey, this feels skewed. And I don't know if that's the judge's role, but having my own family court experiences, I have had judges who are like, this is sus, so this is what we're going to do. And I did not see that in this judge in the footage that we were given.